And welcome to Weather Geeks, and I am here today with Kathy Winters, and this is a really interesting show today, and particularly interesting to me because I'm a former NASA guy. She is a launch weather officer with the U.S. Air Force 45th Weather Squadron, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about what she does. Thank you for joining us today. Now tell us right off the bat, what does it mean to be a launch weather officer?
Well, we provide the weather for all the launches at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Kennedy Space Center. So we're forecasting the weather for launch and also making the go or no go call for the weather for the launches.
Right. Now, I mean, how did you get into that? I mean, tell us a little bit about your background and sort of your personal story getting from A to B.
Right. Well, I always wanted to be in the Air Force. So when I went to college, I went through the Air Force RTC program at University of Central Florida. And then the Air Force had a program called the Basic Meteorology Program.
Yeah,
so I had a degree in and I had a degree in mathematics. So they said I qualified for this program, and I found out about it, and I really thought it was interesting. So the Air Force sent me my first assignment to Florida State University.
Go
Seminoles.
Noles. Go Noles.
Go Noles.
Of course, I gotta get that in. Sorry, everyone.
Right. And so I spent 9 years doing aviation weather in the Air Force, and then I separated from the Air Force and decided to do something a little more stable for my family, and so I ended up becoming a civilian in the Air Force, and I got a job at the Cape Canaveral Air Force.
Now explain that, because I spent 12 years of my career at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center as a research meteorologist, and people would always ask me, oh, what do you do? Do you forecast for space shuttle launches? Two things. Explain to people the range of launches that go on at Kennedy Space Center in a given year, and then sort of what some of the challenges you face in terms of weather and launches.
Right. So, for example, this past year we had 16 launches at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, a mix of Falcon 9, Atlas 5, and Delta 4 launches.
Now, those are different types of rocket systems?
These are different rockets, right?
Yeah. And what's some of the payload? I mean, I think people are familiar with the shuttles, but I mean, they're launching everything from perhaps your direct TV satellites, the spy satellites, right?
Right. And then we also, for example, we're finishing up the series of GPS satellites at the beginning of next year.
And no one can live without their GPS today.
Right.
So,
and so we've launched all the GPS satellites from Cape Canaveral. So yes, we launch a mix of commercial and DoD satellites.
Now, you were telling me that next year the launch volume may pick up even some more. What's the what's different about this year versus next year?
Well, we're going to have more Falcon 9 launches this year, and we have a lot of Atlas launches on the schedule. United Launch Alliance is having those, and we have a few Deltas as well. So with that, we're going to end up with almost twice the amount, or maybe more than twice the amount of launches this year as opposed to 2015.
Now, what is the criteria for getting a launch off? I know you got a rocket sitting out there on the launch pad, and you're dealing with criteria. What are those?
Well, we have a whole bunch of different criteria actually, but we have a mix of rules. The vehicle itself will have specific rules for the vehicle. Then we also have lightning launch commit criteria that we're very focused on, because you can actually trigger a lightning strike with a rocket launch. So even if you don't have lightning in the area, if you build up an electrical field due to thick clouds in the area, then you might actually trigger one.
Yeah, and you were telling me that these images in the background, those are some of the towers there. Those are sort of lightning mitigation?
Right. That's for when the rocket's on the ground before launch, because it does sit out there before launch for some time, and so that's lightning protection for that time period. But then we're also concerned about not just natural lightning, but actually triggering lightning with a launch. Right.
Now, what are some of the most common weather delays that you deal with beyond lightning? I know clouds certainly are important.
Right. Yeah. We tend to have a lot of cumulus cloud in the area in the summertime, and a lot of course, if we end up launching it, sometimes because of orbital mechanics, we have to launch in the afternoon of the summer.
Okay, that's a great weather geeky term. What do you mean by orbit? I know what you mean, but what do you mean by orbital mechanics?
Well,
and why Kennedy Space Center, this place where you get all this convection?
Right. Well, I know people say, why do you launch where there's all this lightning? But it's actually good to have nice warm temperatures when you have rocket fuel around, and rocket components. But also, we have orbital mechanic issues where you can only launch a vehicle at a certain time to get it in a certain orbit. It may be a long launch one, a few hours long, but sometimes it's a rendezvous mission, and then we have to launch right on a certain second. Right. So that's what we mean by that. So we can't necessarily pick the optimal time for weather to launch a rocket.
Now, isn't there something special about even the latitude that Cape Canaveral does?
Right. We're actually the best place to get into the geosynchronous orbits.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
because of our latitude. So being farther south, like we are, is a good place to do that.
And some of our primary weather satellites are in geosynchronous orbit, as are our satellite TV and satellite radio. Is there anything different about forecasting for some of the rockets that you've mentioned versus the space shuttles that people are accustomed to?
Yes, the space shuttle had really robust wind constraints for exposure winds when it's sitting out on the ground. It can take a lot of wind, but once you get a rocket like a slimmer rocket like the Atlas or the Delta, they have a little bit lower wind constraints when it comes to once you're exposing the vehicle and it's out there for hours. Now the wind constraints might be in the mid-20s or for 25 knots, 30 knots. It depends on the configuration of the rocket. So because of that, you start getting thunderstorms in the area, convective wind gusts. Those are hard to predict, and so that's what makes those rockets more challenging than the shuttle launches.
And now, before the show, you were telling me about a special unit or engineering group at Marshall Space Flight Center, and you were telling me that they actually established some of the weather criteria for some of these systems. That was actually new to me, and I spent 12 years at NASA. Tell us a little bit about that group.
Right, that's the Marshall Space Flight Center Natural Environments Group.
Yeah.
And they work more during the design phase for creating the launch constraints that are vehicle specific for the vehicle. So for example, they did the space shuttle vehicle specific type constraints, and also for the new Space Launch System program that's coming up. That's already in the works now. We're already having weekly meetings working on those weather constraints.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that. So there's a new launch system, the SLS and the Orion, that will be sitting on top of that.
Right.
Are you developing at this moment meteorological criteria for that?
Yes, we are. We are already putting together all the requirements that we have for meteorological constraints for that rocket.
Now you work for the Air Force.
Right.
So Delta IV and Kennedy Space Center. So are those your primary customers? Who else?
Right. We have a launch weather officer assigned to each vehicle. So I am the launch weather officer for the Delta IV, and I also do the Kennedy Space Center launches. So right now I'm working on the Space Launch System program. We also have the Atlas V program, which is also a United Launch Alliance program. And then we have the Falcon 9 program that SpaceX has. So we have launch weather officers assigned to each vehicle. And then we also do Navy launches, the Trident missiles. So we have a launch weather officer for that as well.
Okay.
So we specialize right from the beginning, like I'm doing with SLS program, with the constraints to the end.
And we will return with more of this fascinating discussion. All systems are go. Forecasting for a launch starts months in advance, and it even includes surf forecasting sometimes. We'll explain, but first, our Geek of the Week.
This week's Geek of the Week is Matthew Mong, Chief of Weather Training for the 45th Weather Squadron. One of his favorite types of weather is the kind that can actually spoil a launch. A sea breeze convergence on an unstable Florida morning that creates thunderstorms. And guess what? One of his favorite weather phenomena is gravity waves. I love it. Congratulations to Matthew Mong, our Geek of the Week.
After a prolonged hiatus, the legend returns. It's Dave! Back to Life Tour 2016. He's got car insurance and he knows how to use it. See him again live. Getting pizza. At work. Bowling. At the airport. Getting a new wingman. But not at Cheryl's house because they broke up. He's with Monique now. It's Dave back on the road thanks to Safe Auto. To see Dave live and in person, drive, don't walk for about $3 a day. Safe Auto. Call, click, and enjoy the road ahead.
Safe Auto. Enjoy the road ahead.
Let me talk to you about retirement. A 401k is the most sound way to go. Let's talk asset allocation. Sure.
You seem knowledgeable, professional.
Would you trust me as your financial advisor?
I would.
I would indeed. Well, let's be clear here. I'm actually a DJ.
No way.
I have no financial experience at all.
That really is you.
If they're not a CFP pro, you just don't know. Find a certified financial planner professional who's thoroughly vetted at letsmakeaplan.org. CFP, work with the highest standard.
7 days a week, AMHQ is right here and weather ready.
Let me get you ready for the day weather-wise.
AMHQ, every morning starting at 5 on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 82 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, mostly cloudy, high 83. Winds south-southeast at 15 to 25 miles per hour. Tonight, considerable cloudiness, low 74. Winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy, chance of a thunderstorm. High 86. Chance of rain 30%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Weekend recharge is...
We want you to unplug so we get lost in the weather.
I moved to Boston when I was 2. There was 14 of us in a 4-bedroom apartment. To be the first kid to buy a house, it's a very proud moment.
Whatever home means to you, we'll help you find it. Zillow.
I recommend Nature Made fish oil because I trust their quality. They were the first to have a product verified by USP, an independent organization that sets strict quality and purity standards.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended fish oil brand.
If you take multiple medications, a dry mouth can be a common side effect. That's why there's Biotene. It comes in oral rinse, spray, or gel, so there's moisturizing relief for everyone. Biotene, for people who suffer from a dry mouth.
Ladies, we don't need all this to talk about LBL. I mean, who pees a little when they laugh?
Get 3-in-1 protection for dryness, comfort, and odor control. And unlike period pads, Poise Thin Shape Pads have Thin Flex technology.
Poise makes my life easier.
Seize your Poise moment at poise.com.
Building the only trucks with the best fuel economy, best towing, best torque, and best payload takes guts. Overcoming any obstacle, that's the glory. Get a great deal on the trucks that give you both during Ram Truck Month.
Get 0% financing for 60 months, plus up to $2,000 truck month bonus cash on 2016 Ram 1500 trucks.
We're back with Kathy Winters, and she is helping us get our launches and our rockets and satellites up to space. She's a weather officer, and just a fascinating discussion. Now, I teased the last segment talking about surf forecast. What does that have to do with launching rockets?
Well, sometimes to get the rocket components to the Cape, we have to bring it in via ship. So when we do that, we have to provide sometimes sea forecasts. So, for example, when the external tanks would come in for the space shuttle, that was all done. They came from the Mississippi area, the Gulf Coast.
Yes, right, exactly.
Right, and
from down at Stennis Space Center, right, or near there?
It was up at a facility up in Michoud.
Okay, Michoud,
right.
yeah.
And so they actually came around the Gulf of Mexico, around the Straits of Florida, and up the East Coast. And so that whole time we're providing weather for that operation, and other rocket components as well. And then sometimes recovery when something after the rocket launches, something falls into the water. They want to sometimes recover some of those components.
Yeah, and you're supporting that.
Right.
Now let's talk about launch day. You've been assigned a rocket launch X number of months out.
Right.
What are you starting to do at that point, starting from those months up to the rocket launch from a meteorological perspective?
Right, well, at one point the payload will arrive on an aircraft, so we'll work the offload forecast for the payload and transport to the facility it's going to be processed in. And then the boosters arrive, and we work the weather constraints. There's weather constraints for offloading and transport. So we'll work that day. We'll provide forecasts the days before those operations, and then when the operation's actually occurring, we'll actually monitor the weather during the operation. And then at some point you got to get the vehicle out to the pad, lift it out there, and then get the payload on top of it. So all of those operations have weather constraints, and so we're providing weather during that entire time. We have practice countdowns that we do. We call them integrated crew exercises. We practice just like it's a launch, but we actually throw in a lot of, we'll throw in some weather to the team, and they'll have other systems, failures, like a simulation.
Now, how large is your team of meteorologists and meteorological support?
Well, on launch day, we have a launch weather team of 5 people that come in, and also 2 launch weather forecasters as well. And then we also have contractors that are keeping all of our weather systems going, so that's a larger number. That's over a dozen people there. And then 8 or 10 people at the balloon facility that are launching balloons that are also contractors. contractor.
And we're going to talk,
team.
after the break, be sure to stick around for this next story about something they do with the weather balloons. You want to hear this after the break. Now, with these scrub launches, I know this happens for various reasons. Do you guys just ever get blamed for, even though, you know how meteorologists do get blamed for things, do you get blamed and sort of criticized for some of your forecasts? Any particular stories that you remember?
I wouldn't call it criticize. What's funny is if the weather's bad, they don't really criticize us. We try to work around the weather. They realize that the weather's tough. But sometimes if we forecast some weather that maybe there's going to be some clouds and then it's good, they still love us. So we're great, because the weather was good.
Sure.
But no, we work so closely with them as a team, with the customers. I think they see that this is a challenging thing to do, forecast the weather for the rocket launch.
Now, you get up to launch day. Are there any special routines or things that you're going through just personally, or that just from your team perspective?
Well, yes, we have crew rest, so we make sure we follow our crew rest rules to ensure we're rested. But then we all have our little superstitions. I have a certain color shirt I like to wear. Nobody's allowed to wear red. No red, because the range could be green or red for the Air Force range. So we want to be green. So we'll either wear green, or sometimes I wear blue because it's the sky blue.
Sure.
And I've had some good luck with blue. And then we have one person that wears like Superman socks. It's all kind of like a baseball thing almost, with the superstition.
Yeah, that's why I was curious, because I know people have that. Yes, we definitely have
it. We have popcorn. We have to have popcorn during the countdown.
Now, when we get back on Weather Geeks, we geek out on why it takes 5 meteorologists, you heard it, to pore over this insane amount of meteorological data, plus how a robot helps them with their job.
It's Saturday morning and your yard is calling. And with your new Simplicity Courier and its innovative cargo bed, you're ready. Because there are flowers to plant, tools to transport, and a whole lot of everything else. Its suspension comfort system smooths your ride, while your Courier Zero Turn delivers that great Simplicity cut. So whatever it takes to create your own piece of paradise, the Simplicity Courier delivers. Visit simplicitymfg.com to locate a dealer near you.
Clouds in the sky, but you can still take it for a drive.
It's time to spring your ride at Pep Boys. Right now, 5 quarts of Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic with a Purelator Classic Oil Filter is only $22.99. Plus, get $40 off any brake service package starting at $99.99. Trust the boys to get you there.
The roles you play in life are part of what make you, you. And you're not going to let anything keep you sidelined. That's why you drink Ensure with nutritious calories, 9 grams of protein, and 26 vitamins and minerals. Giving you the strength and energy to get back to doing what you love. From the #1 doctor-recommended brand, Ensure, always stay you.
Andrew, Rita, Sandy. Meet Chris, Jackie, Joe. Minor damage or major disaster. When you need us most, we're there. State Farm. We're a force of nature, too.
It's playtime.
It is a chance for these kids to do what almost every golfer has dreamed. Make the drive down Magnolia Lane. With the right to compete at Augusta National Golf Club.
It's playtime.
Watch the Drive, Chip, and Putt Champ.
Maxwell's is now open in the Driftwood Plaza of Jupiter. Gold, silver, coins, diamonds, jewelry, paintings, and objects of art. If you don't want it or wear it, sell it to Maxwell's. We buy and sell diamonds of all sizes, clarity, and condition up to 10 carats in size and above. We have decades of experience buying and selling gold, coins, diamonds, and objects of art. Maxwell's, located in the Driftwood Plaza on US 1 in Jupiter, Florida.
Hey, how's it going? Hotcakes? Hotcakes.
This place has hotcakes.
Hotcakes.
So why aren't they selling like hotcakes? With Comcast Business Internet and Wi-Fi Pro, they could be. Just add a customized message to your Wi-Fi Pro splash page, and you'll reach your customers where their eyes are already, on their devices.
Order up.
It's more than just Wi-Fi. It can help grow your business. You don't see that every day.
Introducing Wi-Fi Pro. Wi-Fi that helps grow your business. Comcast Business. Built for business.
.com.
Our lack of action on these issues is wasting the greatest resource we have.
Senator Cory Booker on the next 23.5 degrees, Tuesday night at 11.
A good meteorologist friend gave me the nickname Dew Point Diva, which is my favorite weather piece of data. And I love dew points, and I try to spread the love about how useful they are, because that's the actual measure of moisture in the air. And if you start to look at the dew point every day and you realize when the dew point is in the 60s and 70s, it's sticky and humid. And when the dew point is in the 20s and teens, it's so dry you can't drink enough water and you can't put on enough chapstick. Then you realize how important that dew point is.
Currently in our area, 80 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, mainly cloudy, a few peaks of sunshine possible. High 82, winds south-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 73, winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy, chance of a thunderstorm, high 86, chance of rain 30%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And we are back, and I want to get into a geek out session now on all of the data that meteorologists use to support these launches down at Kennedy Space Center. Just talk to us about some of the data that you have available as you're supporting a launch.
Right, we have a large mesonet. We have
now, what do you mean by mesonet for those that may not know? It's
right.
sort of a network
of meteorological sensors.
Yeah.
We have over like 40 weather towers instrumented at multiple levels to help out with any toxic spill potentials.
Right.
We also have Doppler weather radar wind profilers.
Now these profilers are radar systems that are actually firing straight up and taking wind measurements.
Right, and we get the boundary layer with our 915 megahertz profilers, and then we also get the upper levels with the 50 megahertz profiler that NASA actually has.
Now, weather balloons. I think people know what those are, but they play a significant role in your operations. Tell us about that, and then tell us about the unique partnership you have with this robotics system.
Right, so weather balloons are one launch mandatory system because it helps provide the information for the loads that are going to be on the vehicle during ascent and to ensure it's going to make orbit as well.
Right.
So because of that, it's our one launch mandatory system. It could be a perfectly beautiful day, so we could live without radar because we could see that the weather's good, satellite even if we knew the weather was good. But if the balloon system doesn't work, then we cannot launch a rocket.
Right.
So we had a little bit of trouble last year with a few launches where we couldn't let somebody go out and launch a balloon because we had lightning within 5 miles of the facility, and that's a safety issue. So we came up with a way to get around this, and that was to work with a local high school robotics team and come up with our WeatherBot, which is a robot that...
you said WeatherBot.
WeatherBot is what we call it. It's our robot. It was made by the Pink team. So it's a pink robot, but it rolls out. We use a remote control. We can actually launch a balloon with the robot.
So you're telling me that a group of students helped prototype and develop a weather robot system that support sounding launches, and it's now operational for the U.S. Air Force and NASA.
Yes, it is. They were mentored by an engineer, a robotics engineer at NASA, and with some help from our group as well. Our squadron got the requirements together, and they developed this robot. And I even watched them get the parts and put it all together at a local high school. It was really something.
Now, you were saying that you have a team of 5 or more meteorologists, and before the show started, you were talking about there's a specific meteorologist that's on radar. There's a specific meteorologist that's on. So tell us about some of these different sort of components or stations.
Right, we have a person that is specifically designated to talk to an aircraft, a weather aircraft, and then we also have a person designated launch weather officer on our radar, our weather radar, that's also looking at all of our lightning systems as well. And so if anyone on our team is no-go because of something they see or get information from the aircraft that means we're no-go, they call it no-go and we're no-go. And then we have to have a consensus to go back to go. But they use information from the radar and the aircraft, and we have to have someone dedicated to do that.
So you can literally, your team can literally stop a shuttle launch or a rocket launch?
Right, we would call it no-go for weather, and so it would go to our launch decision authority, which is usually our wing commander, and then that would make the range, the Air Force range, red and no-go.
Now, in this last minute, what do you foresee as you move into this new launch system, new sort of era there? By the way, NASA still exists. I get that a lot because when they stop launching space shuttles, oh, let NASA go away. But what is the big challenge you see going forward in your world as it relates to the new systems?
Well, we want to integrate all of our data and have it all integrated into one weather system, and it would be really amazing if someday we could automate all of this and just be monitoring an automated system. So that would be like the wave of the future for us, if you will.
Right. Now, I think we'll have to end it there, but I think one thing interesting for our viewers is you told me you guys still use Mercatus, which is many of our Weather Geeks viewers will certainly know what Mercatus is, but I just found that fascinating.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been fascinating. Weather Geeks fans, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. As usual, we're out there on Twitter at WX Geeks, TWC. And we also have a Facebook page. We'll see you next week on Weather Geeks.
Your brain is an amazing thing. But as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
Your credit is in pretty good shape.
Chuck, I know I have a 798 FICO score thanks to Experian.com. Kaboom.
Get your credit swagger on. Go to Experian.com, become a member of Experian Credit Tracker, and take charge of your score.
Over 40, feeling tired, losing muscle, and even romantic drive? Man up with Ageless Male. Natural ingredients clinically shown to support energy, promote muscle, and boost free testosterone.
The great thing about Ageless Male is that it works.
Man up with Ageless Male.
Eat up, buddy. You'll get it this time. Yeah.
Okay, not too quick. Don't let go until I say so.
I got you. Start strong with the lasting energy of 100% whole grain Quaker oats. And off you go.
Where are you?
Well, the squirrels are back in the attic.
Mom?
Your dad won't call an exterminator.
Can I call you back, Mom?
He says it's personal this time.
If you're a mom, you call it the worst time. That's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
Where are you? It's very loud there. Are you taking a Zumba class?
What truck company do you think offers best-in-class V8 fuel economy, best-in-class V8 horsepower, and best-in-class V8 towing?
Chevy. I'm going with Ram.
Definitely Ford.
The new 2016 Chevy Silverado offers best-in-class V8 fuel economy, horsepower, and towing.
They're all Chevy.
It's Truck Month. Get a total value of $7,500 on this Silverado All-Star with a 5.3-liter V8. Plus, find your tag and get $1,000 cash allowance on select Silverado models in stock. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Buy one, take one is back at Olive Garden. Choose one delicious entree at our place and another for yours. Starting at $12.99. May all your tomorrows be as delicious as today. Olive Garden.
One Crest 3D White smile is all it takes to turn the tables. Crest 3D White toothpaste removes 5 times more stains than the red box. For a smile like that, Crest 3D White is the way to whiten.
Spring is a pretty good season. It's sort of invigorating, and the change in the weather is fascinating.
Spring weather is that transitional season where we start to see thunderstorms develop.
The weather is really changeable in the springtime, and you get pretty exciting storms. I mean, that's something that I just really love.
My appreciation for spring weather has grown immensely at the Weather Channel. Severe weather is so fascinating to see it develop. If you love the weather as much as we do, join us at weloveweather.tv.
Currently in our area, 80 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Today, mainly cloudy, a few peaks of sunshine possible. High 82, winds south-southeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 73, winds south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy, chance of a thunderstorm. High 86, chance of rain 30%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
What makes me a weather geek? It's a great question.
I love the weather. That makes me a weather geek. I'll talk about the weather whether I'm at work or not.
Owning like 5 weather stations at my house, and then I name them. Who does that?
I have a weather station in the backyard so I can check the dew point, which is my favorite weather piece of data.
I am a nerd. I'm nerdy and proud.
Can I go off about dew points?
I'm proud to be a weather geek. Join our exclusive community for fans. Be one of the thousands of weather geeks out there at weloveweather.tv.
A little rain, a little shine, a little change all the time. When the weather is fine.
Come on down to Weather Underground, weeknights at 6 on the Weather Channel.
Tonight on 23.5 degrees, Flint, Michigan, a town in the headlines, a town in crisis with toxic tap water, pipes leaching lead, children facing irreversible harm, and politicians seemingly with few answers. The water crisis right here in Flint, Michigan got started in early 2014. That's when the state of Michigan switched the water supply from clean, fresh Lake Huron to this. That's the filthy Flint River. And right away, people said they noticed the difference. The water didn't taste the same, it didn't smell the same, and it sure didn't look the same. But what they didn't know was just how poisonous their water was. So let's hear from the people of Flint. Melissa Mays is a mother of 3, and she managed rock and roll bands for a living.
Give it up for George!
That's until her children were poisoned by Flint's lead water, and that made her want to become an activist. Today, she heads up the Water You Fighting For advocacy group. Now, she's fighting for her family and her town's health. Melissa, what does water look like when you know water's bad? How did you know?
Well, the first odd thing that happened was we were at our kitchen tap. It was about July of 2014, and I turned it on to give my niece a sippy cup full of water, and it came out yellow. And you could see it, and I just thought that's the oddest thing. I shut it off, got her some juice instead, came back, and it was gone. Went back a few days later, and the water coming out was clear, but smelled like rotten eggs. And I said, that's also odd. As time goes on, though, it becomes more and more yellow, more and more blue. As of today, this whole year has been... Blue. Our water fills up in the tub to this day, bright blue. It looks like a swimming pool. A couple odd things here and there. Had some skin rashes in 2014, and Christian would say, Mom, it burns. My niece at the time, I'd give her a bath and she'd break out in blisters. Then as time went on, we got our water tested, found out that we had lead and copper in our water, got our blood tested, and there it was too. And so I know looking at it that it's not safe. We're way more educated now. We know that your water should never smell like anything, look like anything, or taste like anything. We started protesting and marching and taking our discolored water to our officials, city and state officials. We started sending complaints to the governor's office, the EPA, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality almost immediately. We were told that not to worry, it was safe. It was safe all through 2015 until we, the citizens, actually did the study with Virginia Tech to prove there was a widespread lead problem. That was September 15th of 2015.
How long before someone says, stop using the water, don't use it?
Nothing still happened until mid-October. The governor said, well, I'm going to send you some filters and some bottled water. Here's how you learn to live with the lead. That didn't go over very well. So a week later, he finally agreed to switch us back to Detroit water, which is the original water source.
But there was a problem with that because the water that they did use from the Flint River was corrosive. that water did damage to those pipes.
Yes.
So even with the clean water that may be coming from Lake Huron, treated through Detroit, your water problems didn't go away.
The lead is higher now in some people's homes than it was in August when we tested them through Virginia Tech. A family that we are very close to, their lead came back 42 parts per billion, and 15 is the max. There's 0 safe level of lead.
So when people hear these numbers, 0 is acceptable.
Yeah.
The EPA gets upset at over 4.
My good friends, theirs came back 275. And they're an elderly couple that's had so many health issues, and they're not getting better. It was 42 in August of last year. It's 275 now. It's not getting better.
Something happens when this water is heated that makes it even worse or more dangerous.
Yes. Most people think, oh, to get contamination out of your water, you boil it. That's just what you think. And that's great for bacteria. But for heavy metals, it condenses them, so you're ingesting even more heavy metals in that water as you use it. You boil your spaghetti with it, or you use it to make coffee. Also, the other contaminants that are in our water, like there's a cancer-causing chlorine byproduct called the TTHMs, which you hear about. Very dangerous, very bad, especially when released into steam. So when you boil your water, that's released into the air. You breathe it in, it goes into your soft tissues and goes directly into your bloodstream.
Let's talk about your family.
I have 3 sons.
Yeah.
They're awesome. Caleb, Christian, and Cole. They are 17, 12, and 11. They are starting to struggle in school quite a bit, actually. My oldest is very bright. I'm very proud of him. He's worked so hard. He tested into a dual enrollment school to where he's taking college classes. So when he graduates high school, he will have an associate's degree along with his diploma. Now he went from being able to test into the school and